And I'll turn it over to you, Jitendra.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see all of you and dear friends in Dallas. And I'm very happy that um, our Sagar and I's trip that was scheduled 2 years ago, we're going to do it next year. So this brings lots of joy and plenty of time to save the date. So it'd be really nice to be with you all again. And it's very nice to be with you this morning on this topic of reincarnation. This topic is one that is centered to our spiritual lives and in some way to our discipleship, to the Guru, to Divine Mother. And I want to start off by sharing that Paramahansa Yogananda said that God sent perfect souls to earth that they may behave like immortals, calm, happy, desireless, and to rejoice and to bask in the light of God. That he sent these perfect souls to earth in order to enjoy the moving pictures and to act in them. But Yogananda said what happens is that the mundane engagement in the world begins to increase for the devotee, and the soul begins to fall into the trap of establishing attachments in this world. And this really begins the process of our our limitation and our forgetfulness of who we are and that we are free. Yogananda said that if we, at the moment of our passing, if we die with a desire to possess a Rolls Royce, I don't know how many of us are that's one of our desires of a Rolls Royce, but he said that if you die with this thought and this desire of wanting a Rolls Royce, then when you get to the astral world and in heaven, he said that souls glide without vehicles. So you have to come back to satisfy that desire of the Rolls Royce here on earth. And this, of course, I think is a comical way for Yogananda to describe this process that really is at the center of this wheel of birth and rebirth. As little of a desire that may be of wanting a Rolls Royce, in the astral world, Yogananda speaks of the absolute freedom that one experiences. There is no limitation. There are no, the functions of this world are no longer palpable to the consciousness. And so if there are leftover desires, they cannot be fulfilled in heaven, in the astral world. Yogananda Ji also said that even the highest of desires here on earth, so you can fill in the blank on this, perhaps a desire that may be even more reflecting a higher level of consciousness than wanting possession of a Rolls Royce. Even that, he said, cannot be fulfilled in the astral world just because of the astral world in how just the consciousness is let's just say different than that which you can be engaging in the material world. And so with all of this said, I think we understand this process of reincarnation and what sends us back. It's desires, it's attachments to this material world that brings us back again and again in order to fulfill that desire. Now, Paramahansa Yogananda said that you can change reincarnation right now. He said every night and every day you reincarnate. He said every night you die in that which is called counterfeit death, in sleep. And I think many of us perhaps have heard this before, this counterfeit death called sleep. Now, I was reflecting on this last night, on how important this is that Yogananda emphasized this for all of us. He said that you reincarnate 365 days a year, and then multiply that, how many years, Yogananda calculated, on average, 60 years was the average amount of time that souls are spending here on earth. We've, I think, far exceeded that now. 60 is the new 40. And so this is a tremendous opportunity and thing to remember, is that we, as we get on the spiritual path, as we begin to understand reincarnation, we begin to understand that we have a role to play. We have a responsibility here. There is the function of God's grace, the soul's pure reflection of God, that nothing can change that. Birth, death, it remains the same. But we have a responsibility and a role to play in our freedom, the cost of our freedom, and to dwell in the house of the Lord and to be in that constant state of bliss of the soul. God's grace is always there helping us, but we have to act. We have to, as in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna tells Arjuna, you have to fight, and then Krishna goes through all of these stages. And perhaps one of the most, I think, dangerous stages that Arjuna entered into is that stage of despondency of, I can't do this. But we have to fight. And what are we fighting? Well, in the reading in Rays of the One Light, he that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out no more. This is the statement here. He that overcometh. What does that mean? That means overcoming ego tendencies, resisting that force of Maya that ignites and reinforces and supports our desires, our attachments, and hypnotizes us to feel that we can satisfy those desires through identification with the outer world. And so there's good news here, though. I think that what happens when we begin to look at this in our life, and we look at as Swami said, the bundle of self-definitions, it can start to feel overwhelming. Every day, isn't it so that, boop, boop, popping up in our life is all the things that we see, that we feel, which is, the self that is encompassed with ego consciousness. But we don't want to get despondent. We don't want to feel discouraged, because this is one of, as Swami would say, is, one of the greatest weapons of Maya is this feeling of discouragement in looking at the work, the quote unquote work that we have in this life, which we were sent back. It's not God's fault, Yogananda said, even though we can blame God, but it is man's wrongdoing that takes us back again and again, back to this school, this classroom, to come to the point where we can pass our final exam. And then we will be free. Then we may come back, but through our own will, which then we can live in that constant state of bliss. But the good news here is that we can practice this every day. If we look at the whole picture of our life, and perhaps we think we have 30 more years to live, 60 more years, 80 more years to live, sometimes we can feel a sense of a cushion. Gosh, I hope I'm going to live perhaps 50, 60 more years so I can give myself more to my spiritual life. And that itself can give a a level of comfort. Well, I don't have to give up my desire right now. Perhaps I can keep my desire for strawberry shortcake for another 20 years, and then maybe I'll release that desire. I'll have 15, 20 more years left to work on that. Danger zone. We have to begin to work on this now. Yoganandaji said the time for knowing God is now. And he meant by this, I think, exactly in relation to today's topic that, let's not waste time. Now, that's not to say to put pressure on ourselves. That, we see in our consciousness, we feel in our hearts those things that are keeping us bound. But we're going to do this through this process of upward relaxation, in that increasing freedom of the heart, born of meditation, born of practicing Guru Seva, practicing Guru Bhakti, and that process of introspection with kindness and compassion to oneself. But we can practice this every day. So in this practice every day, that we enter counterfeit death. So if we can embrace the practices that we are learning on the spiritual path every day, as if every day is our last day here on earth. I know that the self-help movement and a lot of other spiritual teachers will say, you must live every day as if it is your last day. As much that may seem cheesy, it's a very actually helpful thing to keep in mind. And so Yogananda emphasized the importance of those last moments before you leave the body in relation to your reincarnation, the state of your consciousness and the state of your life. There's many things that I could share today if we had more time of. Yogananda talks about, if a child passes really early on in life, what does that mean? What did that mean for that child's previous life? And so there's a lot that Yogananda talks about there, which I recommend for you to just even research on Google, which I'm sure there'd be a lot there. I'm happy to share also content with Supriya, and then she could share it. But what's most important for us, for our spiritual life, is less, as much as it is fascinating, but to understand this process and the state of our consciousness, the thoughts that we entertain, the feelings that we entertain in those moments before we leave the body are essential. And in some way, this whole life is preparation. We're preparing for that final exam, those final moments in which we exit this physical mortal frame and and emerge in the light. And so what we can do is every night before you go to sleep, try to practice this. Oftentimes, unfortunately, we entertain the thoughts of our shortcomings, or those things that we dropped the ball, or I said this thing to this person and hurt their feelings, or worse, or whatever it might be. And we'll sit and we'll dwell on that. That's not helping us at all. Yogananda said, close your eyes. He said, close your eyes. And so I contribute this to what we can do at night. Close your eyes. And he would say, think of all the things you have done. And he was referencing your life, but we could practice this every day. So at night, close your eyes and think of what you've done throughout that day. Now, he said that, now if you think of all the things you have done wrong, your life will feel miserable. If you think of all the things you did right or expansively, you'll be happy. How simple that statement is that Yogananda gave to us has a tremendous impact on this practice of freeing the mind to dwell on positivity to influence an upward flow of energy and expansion of consciousness. And this will determine your consciousness. And we feel that every day, isn't it so? That if we find ourselves dwelling on our shortcomings and all of these things, then we're in a bad mood. And no matter how beautiful of a sunny day it may be, we're looking at life through the filter of, pure ego and pure being miserable. But if we entertain positive thoughts and we dwell on our soul's nature, we dwell on, that which we have, that we're grateful for, then we enter into that expanded state of consciousness and free ourselves from these attachments that are keeping us connected to this material world. In here, there's one piece I wanted to emphasize, which is we can so often get caught on dwelling on the things that we don't have. But rather, we should focus on and rejoice in the things that we do have, the things that have been given to us, and the things that are in motion in our life, which is supporting the process of our freedom, of our knowing God. And for all of us who are here today, we are here today. This is a huge step. Satsang. It is said in the scriptures that, the greatest blessing is that of a Satguru. But second to the blessings of Satguru is, can you guess what it is? Satsang. So this coming together and focusing your life more in embracing, your spiritual family here on earth and being immersed in the vibration of that ray of light, that ray of grace that you have been graced to awaken through. Now, with focusing on that which we have, I wanted to share a story that brings in Nayaswami Seva, who is a dear friend, and I know a dear friend to many. This was several years ago. This was several years ago where after Swami Kriyananda left his body, we were celebrating Swamiji's life here at Ananda Village with meditating at the Crystal Hermitage. We had a long meditation. I might have been a 4 or 5 hour meditation with Jyotishan Devi Ji. And the whole community was there, all spread out. This was pre-COVID, in the mandir, in the apartment and all of that. And so, the monks, we all went down and we even went early and, so it was a long meditation. And I really, in that meditation, I really wanted to feel Swamiji. I wanted to, I missed Swamiji and I just wanted to feel him and I wanted to feel Guruji's presence through Swami. And here's a perfect opportunity, to really dive deep. And so the meditation began. And, 4 hours, 5 hours went by. I had to then rush back because I had a class that I was going to be doing soon. And so I had to leave just a little early from the closing. And so I came back to the office, to the Sangha building, to just get ready for this class. And I just felt so disconnected. I felt the 4 or 5 hours that I tried so hard to tap into this presence of the Guru, of God, and I just didn't do it. I didn't really feel Swamiji's presence that much. The meditation just went horrible. The mind was just spinning around, and I just felt like a failure. Everything was just perfect for me to succeed, and I didn't succeed. Well, how does that reflect to the spiritual life? Gosh, if I blew the greatest the greatest, gift in some way, to harness the greatest spiritual potential. I just felt, gosh, what hope is there, So, but I had to just move on. I had to come do this class. And so I came into the Om building and everyone was at the Hermitage except one person, Nai Swami Seva, who was in the kitchen. I think she was making coffee. And I came in from where my office was and I came through the door and there she stood, and just smiling and just beaming so much light. And I didn't tell her what I was feeling, just this failure and all of this. And we just talked for literally, I think it was about, 4 or 5 minutes because I had to get going. And inwardly, of course, I felt, we just talked like, oh, how beautiful it was to be at Swamiji's and to be meditating and just talking about Swami for 4 or 5 minutes. And I think Seva mentioned to me, I was wondering why she was here, I'm sure she didn't have a responsibility she had to get to like I did. Like, why isn't she still at the Hermitage? And so she kind of inwardly, I think, tuned into that and said, I was struggling, I can't meditate for that long, or just something that she had to move on from that meditation. And she just, she just looked at me and she just reminded me that, Swami is here. Swami is here now. And in that instant of that, just that little reminder of, yeah, Swamiji is here right now. He's everywhere, especially on this day as we celebrate him. It was a switch that went off. And I just became consumed by this presence of Swami, that I remembered the blessings of being in his presence. And just I felt this bliss that was incredible. And so I did my class, and I've been reflecting on that for many, many years now, because I think what Seva was reminding me, and it's a good reminder for all of us, is we get so caught on dwelling on the things we don't have. I just fell a little short here. I fell a little short there. The laundry list of, mindful games that we dwell on those things. But if we can remind ourselves to rejoice in that which we have right now. And as we come into that present moment and embrace and celebrate that, our hearts open and we can receive that which is yours. As Yogananda said, you have God right now. In this beautiful, I might be going way over time here, so I'm going to close things up here with this very beautiful story that emphasizes this importance that Yoganandaji gave to us. In fact, I want to read this. It's just one paragraph. And so Yoganandaji said that in having God, we have everything. And in that everything, before I read this is what Yoganandaji was speaking of, is that when you feel you have God now, then you will want nothing more. The desires and attachments will naturally begin to fall away. And so Yogananda shares this very brief story. But the greatest victory, Yogananda said, I had was in Phoenix. If only everyone could feel the grace of God as I have felt, they would know, as I do, that in him they have everything. That was my experience in Phoenix. I was deeply, deeply praying and meditating because I had to meet a great need in the morning and someone had failed me. My prayer was not for money, but for freedom. I said to Divine Mother, why am I put to such troubles? Why do I have to face such a crisis? But I didn't stop there. I went on meditating, and then I prayed to the Mother, talk to me. If you tell me to do so, I will leave everything behind and walk out of the organization singing thy name. I do not need anything but you. I ask for nothing for myself. Test me if you will it. I shall at this moment leave everything. In thy light I shall walk away. When Divine Mother saw that I meant what I said, this is what she replied. I freed thee long ago, but because thou thinkest thou art not free, that is why thou art not free. Dance of life, dance of death, know that these come from me. And as such rejoice. What more dost thou want than thou that hast me? From that day I have found freedom. And so, friends, let's remember this every day, and especially, before we slip into sleep, to think of Divine Mother, to think of the Guru. The dance of life, the dance of death. Know that these come from me. Rejoice, rejoice. What more dost thou want than that thou hast me? So if we can just embrace and remember in gratitude and focus on the things that we have been given, and we have been given so much through the grace of God, through the Guru's grace, and let's focus on that. And in our meditation, focus on that. And to close, reflected so purely, is that story in the experience of cosmic consciousness, which is that busting through that veil, which we then are free. Is Yogananda, the moments leading up to his freedom, his experience in cosmic consciousness that he shares with us, he left the ashram. He left Shri Yukteswar to go seek God somewhere else. And as he came back, he, of course, apologized to Shri Yukteswar and said, I'm so sorry, sir, that I left. And this, in some way, was even against Shri Yukteswar's guidance. Shri Yukteswar just said to him, you go if you wish, go if you feel to, but you're not going to find what you're looking for there. And so on his journey, he comes back and apologizes. And Shri Yukteswar, of course, says, I have no expectations. I only want what is your greatest happiness. And so he comes back into the ashram and kind of gets settled in. But in that moment, he said that those words of unconditional love from Shri Yukteswar opened his heart. And so he then went to meditate, which Shri Yukteswar said, Yogananda, Mukunda, come. And he said, I'm meditating. And he said, I know how you're meditating, with like leaves, blowing in the wind. He said, come. And so Yogananda ji came and he tapped him on the chest and he went into that state of cosmic consciousness. Now, the key here is that moment that Yogananda felt that unconditional love from his Guru, which really set forth and prepared him to receive that touch of grace. And so let's not focus on our shortcomings. If our minds are restless in meditation, like blowing leaves in the wind, that's okay. Let's focus on loving God, loving the Guru, and know that, as we rejoice and renew that spirit each day, rejoice in Divine Mother's presence, rejoice in the Guru's blessings, then this is our ticket to freedom. And if we can just maintain that, as we've seen in Nayaswami Seva's life, who in many others that we have seen, just if we can continue it to the end, then you will be free. And this is the promise of the masters. This is the promise of Yogananda. So I wish you all joy in this journey as we remember these words, rejoice, rejoice. And we all will be celebrating in the light, and as we are now. So I wish you blessings and joy.
Well, thank you, Jitendra ji, and as people are formulating maybe comments or questions, I'd just like to say welcome. We literally have people from all over the world online with us. I see not only Austin and Houston and Denton and Flower Mound, Texas, all over Dallas, but I see Europe and I see the UK online with us. So, here's the power of the Sangha and the Satsang, as you said before. And thank you for pointing that out, that by gathering, we have so many opportunities. And when it doesn't happen, whatever the it is, if it's joy or bliss, thank you for sharing about your long meditation, because I know we all can identify a little bit with, yeah, well, was that worth it? A 3-hour meditation or whatever it is, right? A 1-hour meditation. We know that, of course, it's worth it. And that Guru has never left and God is there. And so what if our mind has blown like the wind? Just trust, and joy, oneness will come to us when our time is right. We just have to be dedicated to doing it again and again and again without the fruits of receiving immediately, because they will come. So let's go ahead and open this up. People know how to do this. You can either unmute yourselves, you can put something in a chat privately. I'm watching that, and Jitendra maybe too, but I'll watch it for us. Let's open the floor for people to say hi and make comments and ask questions.
Hello, Jitendra.
Good to see you, Hugh.
What a blessing. Thank you so much for your beautiful talk. And it's a wonderful reminder that we need to be grateful each day for all that we have given, because it's easy when you're working out here in the world and see everything that's going on maybe at your job. And it's easy for the mind to flow into negative states of mind. And one easy way just to recover is to be grateful for you have in that moment. Maybe a little touch of light, like Yotish says, and it's a good reminder. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your energy with us, and looking forward to having you here in person again.
Thanks, Hugh.
I happen to see we even have Mayatri and Mark who are on the road, traveling to Austin, so they're with us. That's kind of fun.
Nice.
There she is.
Hi, guys.
We're actually sitting in a parking lot in Costco right at the moment. But we're almost on the road. Good to see you.
Are you guys visiting Galen? Is this why you guys are traveling, or?
Yeah, we're gonna go down and spend a couple days on our own down in the hill country, and then pick him up and bring him back for Thanksgiving.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So anyway,
Nice.
It's nice to see you.
Yeah,
Enjoyed
good to
your
see
talk.
you both.
There's Mark.
Hey, Mark. I love the spirit.
We're now moving through the parking lot, so all right.
Hi, Jitendra.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. I just wanted to thank you in person for kind of giving us your green light, your blessing on doing the 40-day challenge here in Texas. That, as I told everyone, that was written by you and Sagar and Jayanti and Jan and someone else, and I can't remember. Someone else was part of that.
Yeah, Jayanti's here today, actually.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't see her face, but yeah.
Yeah, I think,
so anyway, it's been
I don't remember,
wonderful.
but that was the most group. Yeah, so how's it been going?
Oh, I think it's been going very well. It's we don't have the forum like we had in virtual community but some people have been replying to the email thread. What I did was Gianty had sent out the whole shebang as a one PDF. I broke it up into every day, and yeah, I sent it out every day. So today was day 36. So we are ending on Thanksgiving Day is our day 40. And I just feel like it has changed me a lot. I mean, I think that, it's been just such transformational almost. I mean, doesn't even feel like that's too big of a word to use for having done this. As I told everyone, I was just kind of cleaning through my Google Drive, and I found it, and I hadn't looked at it since, over a year ago when we did it in virtual community. And I just was reading some of those days. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is just a treasure. And I just got that motivation, that feeling that maybe it was a direction to just, do it again. So anyway, thank you for saying, oh yeah, you didn't hesitate at all, because that was a kind of a thing we were wondering, should we just do it or we should ask you? It's copyright material. So you really eased our minds, and we thank you so much for that. But it's been a joy. It's been a real joy. I do put a few lines. I just want to say one more thing real quick. When I send it out, I do usually say a few lines myself. I try to sort of just let that be spontaneous after my early morning meditation. And this morning, I wrote something that I felt was like very similar to what your message is. So I think that Divine Mother is telling us this, is that the idea of just being joyful no matter what success, quote unquote, you feel like you're doing, that just being on this path and just remembering God no matter what is a victory, and to keep going. So yeah, and that's what I was hearing from what you were saying too. So anyway, thank you so much to all of the team. It's just been a real inspiration, I think, for everybody who participated. Some of whom are on this call, and some are not, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
That's great.
Go ahead, Jitendra.
Well, that's just so great, and thanks, Kim, for sharing an update on that. And I do think that we should do it again, I think, next year in the virtual community. And it is something that I think that the 40-day challenge, why it is such a powerful practice on many levels. In a couple of particular points is, I think, when speaking to many individuals who practiced it with us, a lot of them did not, quote unquote, succeed in establishing the habit for 40 days. A lot of people shared that they went strong for 15 days, 20 days of embracing whatever it was that they were trying to either adopt a positive or releasing a habit that was keeping not serving them. But even that, even if not, holding it for 40 days, practicing it, there's tremendous victory there. Like, as what you're saying, Kim, is just putting it into practice, applying our willpower, focusing our energy, and just starting to work with it. Because, just as a child, as I've seen many times, as they start to learn how to ride a bicycle, they're not just going to hop on a two-wheeler and then just start screaming through the park. They have to, slowly work up to it. And then they move up to the stage where they have training wheels, and then the training wheels come off. And so I think for us, this is how I see the process for us, is that we have sometimes so heavy expectations on ourselves, and then there's God and Guru and Divine Mother saying, like, whoa, like, ease up on yourself. So, but having goals, having directions that we can work toward, but that process that we engage, I think there's a lot in there for us to be, working with that as much as we can, because habits are, as Yoganandaji said, are really critical for our spiritual growth and, freeing attachments and desires. It's really habits that keep us bound. They're sort of the strongest tentacles in some way. And we can reverse them. We can work on them. So I'm happy to hear of the joy that the group is having with that. And doing more things together like that, I would recommend, similar to what you see in the virtual community, whether it's the 40-day challenge or having everybody engage. And that's the other piece to this is the 40-day challenge, I think, was also helpful where if everyone could themselves offer and serve and give energy into trying to create success for everybody, also reflects back and supports our own success. So these things are fun.
Yeah, I'd like to add that it's been a wonderful thing, and we're near the end, and I'm ready to take a break. But in the challenge, but the awareness that has awakened over what probably each one of us has selected, it's what do we want to lose, get rid of, or at least lose and lessen in our lives that is not serving us, and what would we like to add. So that's why it's called Lose One, Gain One, I think, challenge. And it's been beautiful. So the awareness, although I am not, I don't want to affirm that, I have not yet reached perfection in what I have chosen, and I'm ready to take a break in 4 more days, right? It's like, whew, okay, I can kind of chill. But the awareness of that situation has been in my face in a beautiful, good way. And that's what I love about it. So maybe we take a break and then we do something else in the new year, or this again even, and more people maybe will join in, and it's not like you have to respond to an email every day. Yes, you get an email every day, which is a blessing. And in 3 minutes, you read the email and have an awareness. So I've just loved it. And Jayanti has put in the chat box that the other people who were a part of that creation was Kiran and Niranjana.
Right, there she
By
is.
the way.
Do you want to add anything, Jayanti?
Yeah, Jayanti, we'd
This
love to
topic?
see your face. There she is.
There I am. Just hi, everyone. Good to be here. Yeah, I don't have anything to add, but it's fun to hear it's happening.
Why don't you tell people where you are, Jayanti, because most people may not know.
I'm on the other side of the planet. I'm in Sweden currently. So, start from here, but hopefully soon at the village. Let's see.
Welcome.
Jayanti, did you say you were going to try to move to Ananda Village? Is that what you just said?
We're going there for a trip at first.
I see. Okay. That's great. That's great. Yes, I remember now that you live in Sweden. You are Swedish. Yeah. Nice. Thank you for being here.
And we are off of Facebook because I know people sometimes like to know that. Facebook has left us, so show your faces if you'd like to.
And Nalini's here as well, which welcome Nalini from all the way from the village.
Well, I'd like to just toss out the quote from the Bible of St. Paul, and let's just see what that, maybe a few words on that before we wrap it up in a little while. And St. Paul said, I die daily. And that fit in so well. I saw it anyway in your talk about reincarnation. So if anybody wants to comment on that, or Jitendra, I die daily from St. Paul.
Well, I mean, I feel like I had the microphone for long enough, so anybody, I mean, I'm happy to share some thoughts that I have, but wanting to open it up for others to share if anybody or question is, what was this referring to? I guess there's a question for anybody who would like to share on that.
Hello, Jitendra and everybody.
Good to see you again, Mike.
Same here. Yeah, it's been fun, all the things we get to do with the virtual community. And I appreciate your question about I die daily, Supriya. That's always been important to me. I think I've thought it had to do with meditating daily, but at the moment, I'm thinking every instance of asking God, consulting God, is where the little I is just learning to devote itself more to divine reality, and so there's a lot of joy and freedom in that.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Mike. I think that's, it's funny how we can contribute this to such a exalted state, which we also must embrace, that what this was referring to is that exalted state, as Yoganandaji said, that breathlessness is deathlessness. But essentially is what Mike said, it's it's a little shift, and just in that little shift of, turning to God, and what you just said is beautiful, Mike, because I think that's the way of the devotee, and it's a process that slowly will increase for us until there's nothing left except God. But it's a beautiful, I don't know, just very precious process, of just turning to God in that way that you mentioned, Mike.
Yes, it's beautiful to just try to be free and listen at any particular time to a person, to a situation, to each other as devotees, especially because we're all trying to do this at the same time. I was in Stockholm with my wife on vacation a few years ago, and we went to this, it's where that ship is with the cannons. It's a very interesting thing. They took it out of the water, and as an engineer, I realized they just put too many cannons on that ship. But anyways, we were walking down the street, and we were supposed to find our own lunch, and so I just trusted Emily, my wife, to find it. Thank you, whoever just got quiet. And she said, let's go to this place. And so it was just a nice little place. And we went out in the back, and there was this beautiful river there, and it was so beautiful. Sweden is such a beautiful, beautiful place. And I wanted to acknowledge the joy I felt in remembering once again, Jayanti, of course, you're in Sweden. So it certainly is the most wonderful place.
It is. It is beautiful. Took me a few years to realize, sometimes you have to get away to realize what you had. But yeah, I realize that now. Thanks for sharing.
Yes, only other thing I thought about going into this, asking Jitendra if you wanted to mention about of course, we've got our 8-hour meditation coming up, but the week before that is the virtual community 8-hour meditation on the 11th, if I'm remembering, and I'm certainly looking forward to going to that. And that I'd bring that up because there's just so many things. I mean, last year I went to various 8-hour meditations, and it was really, it was having to be my favorite. I'll just share, and I'm looking forward to it again.
Yeah, I think that's really a big, thanks, Mike, for bringing that up. I'm assuming so the Dallas 8-hour, but we are going to be hosting on the 11th from Swamiji's apartment, and we'll have our worldwide community gathering in that way. But yeah, coming back to this quote, um, our practice now, if you have Kriya Yoga or if you, um, your Hang Sa technique, this is really, the 8 hour meditation is a special time in terms of, in relation to this quote of, breathlessness is deathlessness. Really, meditation is, this essential time that we spend with God, that we shut off the sense telephones. We basically close shop, of all of our engagements that we have that's just constant. We know seclusion, Yoganandaji said, is the price of greatness. Well, chiseling this 8 hours each year is, I think it feeds us, and maybe others can share, but I feel that the 8 hour meditation, we may see it more palpable like the days preceding or afterwards, but I feel the 8 hour becomes almost a centerpiece to that year, as we just go inside to be with God, to be in silence, to practice our Kriya for longer, deeper, thirsty, and reaching even more to the Guru. This is really, this state of breathlessness, I want to just emphasize that for all of us, we shouldn't, as Supriya mentioned, Nishkaram Karma, action without desire, fruits of action, is important to remember here. But the longer, deeper, thirsty meditation brings us to that state to go beyond breath. And not that we should show up to our 8 hour meditation being like, okay, I'm going breathless, let's do this. Like, that's not, most likely we won't achieve that state in that with that approach. But if we can pray to Divine Mother, pray to Guruji, help me go beyond this mortal frame. Help me go beyond breathlessness, or go beyond breath. Pray to Divine Mother. Start now. Start the prayer now. Because that really, going into that state of breathlessness is, for each and every one of us, the potential. And perhaps some of you have already experienced this. But when you go into that state of breathlessness, the mind, the intellect, there is no more of this understanding from perspective of ego or mind, but it becomes enveloped in your whole fabric of your being, of this knowing who you are, in this knowing that you are not alone, and this automatic rejoicing of the soul in the heart's love for God comes to the surface. Because what ties us to the body? Yoganandaji said that the ego is the soul identified with the body. Well, what ties that? What's the main cord there? It's the breath. So, this is a really good thing we have time. It's November 21st. So start to engage in that prayer now. And in your meditations, just invite Guru's grace. Say, guide me. I want to go deeper. And this is really what St. John was referencing is, I profess this through this meditation where I go breathless, then that experience of deathlessness and oneness is there and just to the other side, because the energy enters the Sushumna and lifts up to the spiritual eye. And this is really our way out of this, wheel of birth and rebirth. We are no longer bound. Now, if we have karma still to work out, if we haven't achieved the state of Jivan Mukti yet, which is a potential for each and every one of us, even spending as long as we can centered, our whole being centered at the Kutashta, this is what, in some way is a blow, a psychophysiological blow to, the ego's empowerment. So, we have to start somewhere, and starting now is a good time in preparation for 8 hours to really invite Divine Mother to guide this process, guide the meditation, and hold a strong intention to go deep, and then put the work in, starting now. Start increasing your meditation duration and igniting the devotion in your heart through longer periods of chanting and prayer. And in terms of the 40-day challenge, I know you're just finishing the 40-day challenge, but between now and the 8-hour meditations, this is a good time to rededicate, the energy and the time in your life to feed this this part of your being. And so, yeah.
I love that we're going to have multiple 8-hour opportunities. The virtual community on the 11th, hours at the retreat center, but whether or not you're overnighting at the retreat, you still can come to the 8-hour, is on the 18th. I'm sure there will be another one the following week, either out of Palo Alto or the Village or somewhere. So we have all these opportunities, And I'll just say, after 4 or 5 hours in the 8-hour meditation, and my first few years, I didn't stay the whole 8 hours. Nope. However, once I talked enough about it with Pranab and Parvati, and I challenged myself way back then, even if I had to get in the back of the room and do some yoga postures during a chanting break or something, that's what I did. It was so worth it, because those last few hours, sometimes you just couldn't hardly move because you felt so deeply. At least that was my experience then. I had never felt the depth after working through the body and the mind, struggling. But not having to sit still for 8 hours. People know that now, right? We've said it enough times. You can move, you can do some yoga postures, but you're still in the bhav, you're still with your other guru bhais, attempting to the best of our ability on that day to be with God and to know the oneness and to feel Master's presence. And it is so worth it to push through or to relax through some of the struggles that happen during that 8-hour. I can say that for me.
And I'll just put out there that, there's been many 8-hour, well, maybe not many, but there's been enough 8-hour meditations where, some of them that just didn't go so well. And there was one that I ended up falling asleep for, I don't know how much time passed. I think I completely just fell asleep for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours, and, woke up through the chanting break or something. But even, I have to say, it was the most rejuvenating. I'm not encouraging you to sleep during the 8-hour meditation, but even if you're tired, do it anyway, because even if you fall asleep at different parts in the meditation, your intention of just, you're trying to go deeper in knowing God, it's a talk about a power nap. It's not that bad.
Didn't you say that sleep was counterfeit samadhi? Hello.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially in meditation.
Maybe we should build that into our 8-hour schedule. Hold on.
Nap time. Oh, let's talk to Guruji about that. Yeah. We need like nap time halfway in between. But I mean, isn't it so that even the worst 8-hour meditation that I've ever had, which there is no worse, I mean, it's just doing it, but the energy that you feel afterwards is also a critical piece to our spiritual life, to just experience what happens for Kriya bonds, to practice Kriya, try to do as much Kriya as you can and feel the power and rejuvenation that happens on every level of your being from meditating a long period of time or practicing Hang Sa. I mean, there's nothing in this world that can provide that level of rejuvenation and just freshness of like, I'm alive, So it's even the worst meditation, you're going to experience that. And just how else are we going to know that unless touching, that experience, even just for, a few moments or a day or whatever it is.
Thank you so much, Jitendra. This has just been rejuvenating, talking not just about the 8 hour, but about learning to die daily. Even if it's just dying to my judgmentalness or my impatience. We can take little bitty steps of something to help ourselves to die in that, in our attempt to do it. And in our intention, like you said, the grace comes. Eventually, it just washes away, and that's no longer part of our karma. And anyway, it's just been beautiful, wonderful. Any last minute comments, questions? Because I'm realizing I had no idea it was after 12:30. And open cameras. We're not on Facebook. This is the time you can wave and give hugs to Jitendra, to Europe, to the UK, to people who are still on, to California, I see all over.
Well, it was nice to spend time with you all, and look forward to being with you guys again sometime soon. And it's so nice to see the energy you all are putting out with Maitri, the chanting. I tuned into your chanting a couple of times, and just all of you just are doing. It's an important work, in Dallas, and I think I've always felt that going there. There's a power and a grace that's there, and I, keep you all in my prayers for the next steps for finding a place. And but it's so great you guys are having the retreat, and so just as much as for those who are nearby to try to attend these retreats, because this is what's going to magnetize the new center, and just the work is just showing up is enough sometimes. So, but I'm so happy to see all of the energy you're all putting out and how you come together.
Yeah, and I want to put in a plug for the Austin group, because Austin is beginning to gather again in their space. It's a beautiful upper room, I call it, in a church space that they rent. And I'm going there the first weekend in December, and we're going to gather in the upper room. So it's no longer just Dallas. It's amazing that it's just spreading, and because of online, of course, we can have people from all over the world on, which is wonderful. So thank you, Jitendra ji, for coming, for sharing. We will see you soon. It'll be a long Easter weekend, long in a good way, because we're hoping to do a Thursday night and Good Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So back to Christmas. Sorry, I keep getting way ahead of myself. Back to Christmas and Thanksgiving. Many, many blessings to everyone. Much gratitude. You and your families enjoy the holiday week coming up. And next weekend, in person, Sunday service at the Dallas Meditation Center.
Nice.
And this is where we open cameras and say, Namaste, y'all.
Namaste, y'all.
You're doing good, Jitendra. Bye,
Good to
Jayanti.
see you all, and good to be with
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Can't wait to see you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Jayanti ji. Maybe see you at the village. I'm coming sometime. I don't know when.
Come.
Oh, I am.
Yeah, and for everyone, actually, I know many people are signing off, but just to say, the village is open for people to travel here, and I don't know so much. I'm not in tune with the exact things that are happening at the Expanding Light, but there's retreats and there's a calendar if you visit expandinglight.org. So come, it's
Yes.
time.
Many of us do get those emails from the Expanding Light. And if you don't, let me know and I'll tell you how to get them. It's just worth knowing, they are opening up. Look what they're having. Because it's, as soon as an individual is ready to travel, that's the first place I'm going on an airplane. So
Nice. I hope to see you all perhaps at the village as well.
you will. Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving week.
Blessings. Happy Thanksgiving to you.